Welcome to the MOOC lecture topic on spinal cord. At the end of this presentation, you will be able to describe the structure and function of spinal cord, identify the gray matter and white matter of the spinal cord, name the covering and blood supply in spinal cord. Spinal cord is the part of central nervous system that is located within the vertebral canal. It occupies the upper two-thirds of the vertebral canal. It begins at the foramen magnum in the skull as a continuation of medulla oblongata of the brain. This continuation of medulla oblongata acts as a support from above. The spinal cord terminates at the level of first lumbar vertebra in case of adult and third lumbar vertebra in case of a child, from the foramen magnum, and continues through to the conus medullaris near the second lumbar vertebra before terminating in a fibrous extension known as the filum terminal, which descends to be attached to the posterior surface of the coccyx. At the bottom, filum terminal and on both sides denticulate ligament fix the spinal cord within the vertebral canal. It is 45 centimeters in length in an adult. It is roughly cylindrical in shape. It shows two fusiform enlargements in the cervical region and in the lower thoracic and lumbar regions. The cord possesses a deep longitudinal fissure called the anterior median fissure in the midline anteriorly, and a shallow furrow called the posterior median sulcus on the posterior surface. Along the entire length of the spinal cord are attached 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Each posterior nerve root possesses a posterior root ganglion. The spinal cord is composed of an inner core of gray matter, H-shaped or butterfly-shaped, which is surrounded by an outer covering of white matter. There are two ventral and two dorsal horns in the gray matter. There are two additional lateral horns in the thoracolumbar region. The ventral horns contain motor nerve cells, neurons, which transmit information from the brain or spinal cord to muscles, stimulating movement. The dorsal horns contain sensory nerve cells, which transmit sensory information from other parts of the body through the spinal cord to the brain. The lateral horn is part of the sympathetic nervous system and receives input from brainstem, organs, and hypothalamus. It is the center of reflex action. Interneurons. The gray matter in the core is mainly made up of neurons, primarily cell bodies and dendrites. The white matter mainly made up of myelinated axons, also called tracts. The spinal cord has tracts of interneuron axons to carry information between spinal nerves and the brain. Ascending tracts nerve fibers climb up to connect spinal cord with the brain. It carries sensory information up to the brain. Descending tracts, nerve fibers climb down to connect brain with spinal cord. It carries response information from the brain to the motor neurons. The spinal cord functions as the link between the brain and the nerves in our body. The spinal cord is divided into 4 different regions based on their location: cervical, thoracic, lumbar and afferent and efferent spinal nerves that merge to form the peripheral nerves. The spinal cord is covered by, from outside to inwards, dura mater, arachnoid mater and pia mater. The spinal cord is supplied by anterior and posterior spinal arteries, feeder arteries and segmental arteries. Anterior spinal artery supplies the anterior 2/3 and posterior spinal arteries supply the posterior 1/3 of the spinal cord. Disruption of supply of these arteries might result in different clinical syndromes. Thank you for watching the presentation. Your feedback is most valuable.